Well, good Wednesday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up those football gods. Hope everybody's doing good on this hump day. Oh my goodness. Today, the team will technically have their very first practice, although they've been on the field already doing stretching exercises, and what they're trying to do. We are now with a kinder, gentler NFL as far as training camp goes. In fact, in football in general, we now have teams recognizing how easily it is to get a nagging injury early on. So the Cowboys are changing their approach. Instead of going all out conditioning, 100%, they're trying to build up to it so that way body starts getting used to it. Tomorrow they'll go ahead and they'll ramp it up a little bit more. Today will be a glorified walkthrough as far as practice goes through. The real practice starts really Monday when they get the pads on for the first time and they actually get out there and start hitting and start really getting together. Right now, it's about nourishing the mind. It's about refreshing all those installs that they did through OTAs and the 1 day of minicamp and getting everybody up to speed and on to ready for camp. Because again, there's only 14 padded practices. There's lots of walkthroughs and things, but when you really go full speed to a point, you're not actually tackling and taking guys to the ground. It's in those padded practices. And so you want to be mentally prepared as much as possible before those Monday practices. So now you can take all of that mental edge and now equate it with actually being physical and moving at real speed on the field. Thus far, we haven't heard about anybody being on the PUP list. Yesterday was the physicals and things. Which is interesting with Michael Gallup's situation. That would be the only person that I would expect to actually be on the PUP list starting training camp, which is actually good for the Cowboys because traditionally we'd always have Amari Cooper. Recently, we'd always have DeMarcus Lawrence, and that is the physically unable to perform list, which you don't really want to be on at the beginning of training camp. You can come off of the PUP list. If you come off of it before the season starts, no harm, no foul. But if you're on the PUP list the first week of the season, you must be on there for at least 4 weeks. So we'll need to watch and see where we are with Michael Gallup. It seems to be the reality of the snow job that we were kind of hoping for, him being ready to start the season, maybe just that, hoping that he'd start the regular season. But quite frankly, typically it's 9 to 12 month injury recovery. And 9 months puts us at November 10th. Just pointing it out there. It's not to say that he doesn't get cleared sooner, but typically that's what we're looking at. Already 1 day into Dallas Cowboys training camp, Jerry Jones got himself into a little hot water using a term that has now since been deemed a slur for little people. He ended up talking about Larry Lancewell, who passed away, along with 10 other, people that were associated and tied with the Dallas Cowboys. And he wasn't meaning it to be a derogatory term, but of course, TMZ ran with it and everything else. He issued an apology and things. So we've got that issue. Listening to the press conference, a lot of it seems to be deja vu. Although I will say that Mike McCarthy seemed to be more at ease and more in charge than what I would have expected. Jerry Jones always hogs the press conferences, but it just seemed like Mike McCarthy had a little bit of a swagger to it, a little bit of, I'm the guy in charge here. The guy I can't wait to actually see press conference for is Dan Quinn. When Dan Quinn speaks, I'm going to be like, it's E.F. Hutton. Because Dan Quinn, I absolutely positively love listening to him speak. Now, my man, I'm actually got to get on the road today. I've got to go do some work and stuff before I'll just be gone for the day. got a lot of work to do between now and Monday when I catch that big old jet airliner to Los Angeles to get on up to Oxnard. I got to get my stuff packed, get my things, all of that together and everything. But listening to Rich Eisen, we have Darren Trotter talking about the Cowboys versus the Eagles. And this is kind of interesting, listening to Daryl Trotter talking about the Cowboys and Rich Eisen. Now, Rich Eisen, you guys all know, I really enjoy listening to Rich Eisen. He's not a Cowboy fan and things like that, but it's not really like a reality show where everything is, I've got to yell over you, and we come up with some bull crap, like Bart Scott.
On Dallas.
Well, there's definitely stars, as Jerry Jones loves having, stars not on the helmet, but on the field as well. I'm actually, when I look at their group and I look at Dak coming back and be another year removed from the injury, I think he has a big year. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to enter into that kind of DeAndre Hopkins conversation that we had a few years ago, where it's just like there's nothing you can do to slow him down. I think his targets go way up. I think he could have just a monster year as more of the offense gets funneled through him. They need the offensive line to stay healthy. There's no secret there. That's been kind of the bugaboo. But defensively, I think they've got a lot of depth, and they've got, again, stars and playmakers. So I still think they're the team in that division. I know everybody kind of gets Cowboys fatigue and kind of goes against them when you talk about this, preseason prognostications. But I just still think they're easily the best team in that division.
You think? I don't know why I'm constantly leaning towards Philadelphia.
Everybody's jumping off.
Well, I mean, I just think that they're not as good as they were last year, and we saw what happened with them last year. And Mike McCarthy could call his job status a media-driven narrative as much as he wants, as he did today. But Jerry Jones is the one who put out there why Dan Quinn is staying, because every coordinator knows as long as they stay as a Dallas Cowboy coordinator, they got a shot at the main gig, which is what he said at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he said that on his own website at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. Daniel, that may have been born out of recency. I get not biased, but he was upset about losing in the playoffs. I don't know. I just like Philadelphia a lot. I like what they've added, and I like those Georgia Bulldogs on the front and second level. I don't know how healthy Nakobe Dean's going to be, but and I believe in Hurts. That's why I'll lay that out at your feet there, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be better. I don't think the Eagles beat many good teams last year, and there's no way around it. They fought and earned their way to the success that they had. I just come down to it at this point in time. I like Jalen. I think Jalen's going to be somebody that continues to grow and get better. I just think right now there's still a pretty sizable gap between him and Dak. So I'll give the Cowboys the edge there. I love A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They've got some weapons there. They've got a good offensive line. They've got some depth on that defensive line. I don't doubt the fact that you'll see a better version of the Eagles. I just think the continuity that the Cowboys have there, the offensive coordinator spot and the quarterback spot, and the quarterback being a little bit healthier than he was last.
Nothing more awkward than a vote of confidence being delivered by management in the world of big-time sports, with the person who's receiving the vote of confidence sitting right next to the man delivering said vote of confidence. But these are the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones, and he addressed the issue of Mike McCarthy's job status being on the line, the seat being hot in the Metroplex. He addressed that very subject with Mike McCarthy right there. I've read the soundbite, haven't heard it yet. It's now time to hear it. Jerry Jones at Cowboys training camp today.
I want to be real clear. He wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't think he was the man to lead this team to a Super Bowl. He would not be, and I have choices. And so that's not meant to be insensitive to anybody. That's a fact. And so you guys write about a lot of those choices, and they were there for my use had I wanted them.
4 words, and I have choices. That's what we're going to hang our hat on, and I have choices. He's the one who's here, and I have choices. 2 ways to take it.
There's only one way to take it.
2 ways to take it. 2 ways to take it. The one way that I know you are taking it, TJ, and the one way the rest of anybody else who doesn't root for the Dallas Cowboys will take it and is taking it.
Yes.
Let me give yours first, TJ, out of respect to you, sir.
I think this would be like a normal person who just takes a man at his word and just
Let's stop it. Who are you trying to fool right now? Yourself?
I'm not trying to fool anybody.
Here's the way.
I mean,
Here's the way you are taking it. And again, I pay you the respect of starting with your version first.
Okay, but let me just say
Your
this.
approach first,
I don't
your
care
view.
if this was Jerry Jones, Tom Jones, Mrs. Jones, and me. If I just heard anybody say
Bridget
this
Jones and her
sentence,
diary?
if I just heard anyone say this sentence, I would have the same feeling. So it has nothing to do with Dallas or Jerry. It's just
Let me get to it. Let me get to it.
So just want to preface
And
it.
again, I do this out of respect to you.
Dude,
and
you really don't.
No,
But go
I
ahead,
do it out of
please.
respect to you because I know you do independent study
Of
when you're not
course.
on the air.
Oh,
You know,
boy.
I'm trying to better myself.
I don't have to put it in a contract. And I have choices, is his way of saying I could have replaced this man if I didn't have confidence in him because I'm Jerry Jones. I'm the Dallas Cowboys. I have choices. Mm-hmm. And I
Which is true.
take advantage of those choices because I believe in this man to my right would not be sitting here if I did not feel convicted. That's the way he's saying it, right? Because he had the opportunity to do it if he wanted to do it, and he doesn't want to do it. Somebody pipe down.
There you go.
Because if he wanted to do it, he'd have done it.
doesn't want to
Right? Right? Isn't that like from The Godfather? Like, don't worry, Tom Hagen, right? Didn't Sollozzo say that to Tom Hagen? Don't worry, Tom. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already.
Yeah.
What were they really thinking?
So that's the Godfather way. I'd have been dead if I wanted him.
You want to
If I wanted him fired, he'd have been fired by now, and he's not fired. And I have choices to fire.
Was Sollozzo lying though?
No, it's true.
Was he lying when he told Tom Hagen
If
that?
he told Tom Hagen, you'd have been dead by now if I wanted you dead.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it,
so,
Tom. So that's what he's saying to
He
Mike
didn't
McCarthy.
turn out
Don't
like
worry.
Sonny at the toll booth.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Well, you don't know what happened.
Well,
right?
at any rate, and now here's the other way that the rest of the world's going to take it.
Westeros haters.
Because the choice
Was not ready.
that Jerry Jones says he has, that he didn't take, of the choices, plural, one of them's on the staff. That's the issue.
Yeah.
One of them's on the staff. Another one's sitting in the Fox studio with a knife and a fork and Sean Payton's got his napkin tucked into his shirt.
Just wait.
Interesting take.
That's the and I have choices. I have choices. One of them's on the staff, including that person who's on the staff, Dan Quinn. What led to, remember when Mike McCarthy came on this program and addressed the issue head on?
Yeah.
Kind enough to call in to address that issue head on of his job status, that he said he did talk to Jerry Jones about this because the statement came out from Jones
Are
on
we
his
making too
own
much of
website,
this?
DallasCowboys.com, saying that reason why Dan Quinn stuck around is not just because he has a chance to win here, but everybody who's on the staff knows if they stick around, they might have an opportunity at the head job. So when he says, and I have choices, and I had choices, he's saying, I'm mentioning that because this guy would have been whacked if I wanted him whacked, and he's not. He's here.
Come on, Rich. Damn.
And I have choices is also his way of saying,
Well,
if he doesn't win, the choices are still there. They're still there. And as a matter of fact, one of them could be elevated at any point in time.
Very easily. Who has
As an
actually
interim.
coached?
I could do that
Against New
anytime I
Orleans.
want because I have choices. That's the way the rest of the world's going to take it. Because the choice that he can have, one of the choices, is sitting right there in his defensive meeting rooms, running the show. The guy who Micah Parsons came on this program. I'll stir it up a little bit. Micah
Stir it
Parsons,
up
remember
now.
Micah? When he was here for Super Bowl week, he ended up sitting in this chair. Was it Super Bowl week or after Super Bowl
It
week?
was Super Bowl week, yeah.
Remember you wound up sitting in this chair? I asked him about Dan Quinn. Oh, DQ. And he was talking about how those guys talk about life. They talk about this. They talk about that. DQ. Then Mike McCarthy, I don't say much. What?
Yeah, we don't talk much.
That's why we're all talking about it. But as Peter King said earlier this hour, it's really an insignificant story right now because it's all about wins and losses. He goes 7-10, he's out. 8-9, he's out. 10-7 and wins a playoff game, he's still in. He said, and I don't know about that one. I got to go higher register on that. 10-7, win a playoff game. Because 10-7 won't get you to the bye. You're going to be playing that first weekend. So you win your playoff game at home in Dallas. So it's Dallas against, you know what? Because 10-7 might get you 3 seed. Will it get you the 3 seed? I don't know.
No.
Let's just say it gets you the 4 seed.
Okay.
So you beat that plucky 5 seed team, that tough 5 seed team that lost out in their division, that team that nobody wants to face. You beat that team, and that'll be very good. And then you get bounced in week 2. And Sean Payton sitting right there. You could send a little compensation
With
to Mickey
2 number
Loomis and
ones
get
as
him.
compensation?
That's a choice, isn't it?
Mike McCarthy, first coach fired, 5-1.
Or,
It's 5-1.
or let's pay the respect due here. Who was that said CeeDee Lamb could be as good as anybody in this league, and it was a matchup problem is going to explode this year? That would be Daniel Jeremiah in hour number 1. Dak Prescott is Dak. Zeke is Zeke. You know what I think of Tony Pollard. You know what I think of him. Micah shows up, takes a step up. Tank Lawrence, still Tank Lawrence. Don't forget the Cowboys have a generationally talented Diggs of their own. Maybe
He
their
actually said Diggs is
draft
talented?
choices blossom, and Mike McCarthy weaves it all together, and the Dallas Cowboys make the NFC Championship game for the first time since T.J. Jefferson was, hold on a minute, let me do the math here, 35 years old.
Oh, man.
It was a glorious time.
No, it is. Is he 30?
35.
What do you think? Is it 30? 25 years ago.
You just turned
26 years
21,
ago. What is
TJ.
it? 25?
He was
At
probably
that point.
42.
Wow.
Whoa.
Care to comment?
Nah.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the depth chart right now. Yeah, I stopped paying attention about 3 minutes ago. I'm just really concentrating on
Oh, you
our.
have choices.
I have
That's your
choices. I can
choice.
choose
That's
to
your
listen to
choice.
this ridiculousness. Or I can
We
just
have
follow- I can
choices.
just study
And
my
I
depth
have
chart.
choices.
How is it ridiculous?
And I have choices.
You got your owner.
That statement without the 4 words, and I have choices, would have really, it would have stuck the landing. And I have choices is, it's a version, it's a distant cousin of the for now.
Try that about your relationship with your wife. That whole conversation that Jerry Jones just had,
And
to
I have
make it
choices.
about your
I have
wife.
choices. Yes. Oh.
Hey, if I didn't think she was the one that could lead me to a great, successful
Or our
kids.
family's been, if I didn't think she was the right one for me,
But I had choices.
then clearly I wouldn't be with her.
Wow.
I have choices.
And I have choices.
I have choices. Wow.
What?
I find it amazing. Like we
Doesn't
listen.
fly.
Susie's here on Friday.
Wow.
Doesn't fly.
I didn't take it all that way.
Friday?
Try it.
And
Try
you're-
it.
Would you sit in your chair
see
Friday?
how it goes.
And I have choices. Hey, listen. I have choices.
And I have choices.
You know what? I think you are the right one for me for now. If I had to get married today,
Yep.
you're my choice for now.
Right.
Wow.
TJ?
You know, I love that. We listen
Damn.
to Bill Belichick mumble through like a 2-minute thing, which I still don't know what he said. And you're talking about
Mumble.
throwing manhole covers on it, and like it was the greatest.
He never
First of all,
talks
I don't
about
even
his
know what that
quarterback
means
that
when
way.
you said that twice. What does it even mean? And
What,
I'm
a
pretty
manhole
smart,
cover?
so I got to believe that there's other people out there listening that have no idea what that meant. But then we come to Jerry and he
talking
says one
about?
thing, and
What are you talking about? Have you never heard the phrase thrown around like manhole covers? You never heard that phrase before?
Yeah, you said it twice.
Well, it's an East Coast phrase.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely not, because I would have heard of it. You know,
When you throw
don't really-
around
you
throw
don't
around
really throw
compliments
them
like
around.
manhole covers means you don't give out compliments
Yeah,
it's
'cause
tough
you
to
can't throw 'em around.
manhole
I mean, you
covers.
guys are saying it like that's a well-known
Look at
phrase. I know
manhole
well-known
covers-
phrases, and I've never heard that.
No, manhole covers are what are in city streets
Yeah, I've seen those
that cover up
holes,
the sewers that go underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm still trying to draw like.
Look, we have choices about which phrases we choose to use when we're having a discussion about
choices.
this.
Wow.
Black
Use
Sheep said
better
the
choices
choice is
than I would
yours.
say.
New drop, and I have choices.
And I've
gotta
got
get, I gotta get
Yeah,
it.
we got that.
And I'll bet you $1,000 McCarthy's not the first coach fired.
I would agree with that.
I agree too.
Come on,
I'd agree
that's
with
ridiculous.
that.
We're not
I'd
going to
agree with
fire
that.
Mike McCarthy
Dude,
first.
I agree with that.
Why?
Wow, this is insane. You know, I didn't take it all like that. That it was the dreaded vote of confidence here at day one in training camp. But I guess listening to their take on it, I guess you could look at that and say, yeah, that was the dreaded vote of confidence here. I have choices. Well, you know, it all goes down to how's the team playing. How does the team play? I literally looked at it and looked at Mike McCarthy and looked like he was confident. He was feeling good. He looked like he had lost weight. He had the smile on his face. He wasn't sweating at all, although it's kind of chilly out in Oxnard right now, so it's hard to sweat out there. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. We will keep you apprised of anything that happens with training camp. Shout out to my brother from another mother, Law Nation, who is already out there in Oxnard. And we'll be there this time next week. We'll be waking up in Cali. Well, it'll be about 5 a.m., but we'll be waking up in Cali because we'll still be having jet lag, getting ready for the day. I'm Mark Holmes, and always, you know how we roll.
Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe for the Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?